My wife and I were trying to work out our marriage when I discovered she cheated on me. This all began in November of 2019. I will try to summarize the best I can everything in the 6 months up to this point. In November, my wife asked me to go to marriage counseling. She had just begun to see her own therapist as a requirement for anxiety medication. She voiced some grievances about feeling as though I did nothing around the house and would never help her. We have a son, 8M, which she also believed I wasn't involved enough in. We had been married 9 years at that point. I told her to find a counselor she was comfortable with and to set up an appointment and that I would be happy to go. She never did. Everything seemed okay until January. I had begun taking over a lot of the cleaning duties of the residence. Laundry, dishes, clutter, vacuuming etc. I had been the only one cooking for years. The only time my wife or son had a non-fast food meal was when I cooked. My wife was not the brightest when I came to academics, and I assisted him with all of his homework. The usual schedule for us is that she works August 5th Monday Friday, whereas I work noon to 0030 on Wednesday through Saturday. Our son has a karate class and stays until 18:30 when she would pick him up. She left her rings on the table one Friday night after a text message basically saying that I never do anything and take her for granted. I told her I was the one who felt unappreciated due to all of the extra work I did around the house as well as working a 12-hour swing shift. She took our son to her parents' house and drove herself to a faraway town where she has extended family. My heart broke. I didn't know what to do. I called EAP. Took some advice. Set up marriage counseling myself. She came back Sunday evening. After though, I became a bit needy. I would constantly ask what was wrong, tell her how much I loved her, asked for a conversation to figure out what was wrong. I met with the counselor first, told her what was going on from my perspective. It was supposed to be a together session. But she couldn't make it. She continued to leave town each Saturday and not return until Sunday evening. Our son would be toted with her and left at her parents' each time. The week after my first session, she sat me down and said that maybe we needed to split 50-50ths with joint custody. I got on my knees and told her that I loved her and did not want a divorce. Pleaded with her to try counseling. She agreed. I was beginning my process through the stages of grief. She failed to show up to the second appointment. I spoke again, solo, to the counselor. She then had a solo session herself. I contacted an old friend, whom I had grown apart from. He told me to sit her down. Tell her directly that I didn't want a divorce, but if she was set on one, that we would proceed forward and just give her space. That Sunday I did just that. This time though, I didn't beg or plead, act depressed or anything. She sat in silence for a minute, told me she was going to smoke, and left town, leaving our son with me. I took care of him as I often did, and never sent her a message or attempted to call her. At 2,100 hours, I called my parents and let them know what was going on. I talked for a long time with them. My mother wanted me to change the locks. I declined. I did agree to meet with them on Wednesday at 2,300 hours. She returned home, saying that she wanted our marriage to work out and agreed to do the counseling. We had a session that Monday where she spit vitriol at me. The counselor described it as parental. We set boundaries. I was to remove my mother from a joint bank account I had since I was 16 and do more activities with my wife. She was to stop using Facebook and stop going out of town each week. On Wednesday, my parents gave me a new car. My car was derelict, so it was replaced. The reason was that my parents were concerned with my ability to take care of our son if I had no transportation when my wife went out of town. My wife did not take kindly to this gesture. The next appointment was Thursday, and I was given a new boundary of not speaking to my mother or father. I called them one last time and told them I would not be contacting them for a while with an unknown end date. I went to a lawyer the next day just to see what my options were and if there was anything I needed to do. I ended up being told to keep financial records, don't add her to the new bank account, photograph the residence in disarray when I got home, and record conversations both in phone calls and in person. I began to do so. Just in case. I would photograph, then clean. I was the only one doing chores. My wife and son wouldn't have clean clothes, house, or food if I just didn't do it myself. On March 7th, I took my wife to a play and expensive restaurant of her choice. Her birthday. I had to take off of work to do so because the 8th, she went out of town again. She made a new Facebook account and also still had her old one. When she returned, I told her I was starting to have trust issues. We continued going to counseling. Our son stayed with my parents for spring break. The spiral for me got worse here. She came home Sunday from camping, wanting nothing more than to be with me. Said she had a revelation that she was no longer 21 after getting pissed drunk the night before. I found that she left her Facebook logged in on the home computer that night. Found a message dated March 7th to some random guy I didn't know stating she was just trying to get her stuff together to get out of the marriage. Another message to a different guy asking to ride four-wheelers with him one Saturday. I confronted her. She became extremely apologetic and told me that she sent the divorce message when she was mad and didn't mean it. That she was going to ride four-wheelers as a group, not just with some dude. We had a counseling session the next day. I voiced my lack of trust to the counselor. The dynamic had shifted. I was asked to leave the room for a bit while they talked. When I was brought back in, I was asked if I thought she was cheating on me. I told the counselor I didn't think so, that she wasn't that kind of person. I still had my trust issues though. Last night, while cleaning, I got a hold of her phone. She had been very secretive and guarded of the device. I found a text message from 22:30 hours. I love you, sweet man of mine, to a person. I went through the social media she had. Found evidence of deleted messages. Found that she had been sent loving messages to this guy for a while. I confronted her. It took a while. She confessed. The problem was, after my heart broke a while back, once I got past the acceptance step, I was just logical. I was mad, but not in any way that wouldn't be easily controllable. She claimed she met him when she was out of town. She had been with him in person twice, and only slept with him once. She begged and pleaded for forgiveness. We talked for 6 hours. Well, I did the talking. She would just reply with "I don't know" and "I'm sorry." I told her to call him while I was present and explain herself to him. She apparently had lied to him and told him she was separated. He would never answer. So she sent him a text. He replied, then she blocked him. She finally deleted all her social media and swore to stop going out of town. Begged to stay. She went for an emergency counseling session. All we were told is to get some sleep, as neither of us had. I sent our son back to my parents until we figure this out. I have no trust left to give her. I can't believe anything she says. I have audio recordings of the confession, photos of the things on her phone and Facebook before she deleted them. She is pleading, constantly saying she loves me. Said it was only a fling, but still can't explain why she maintained contact with the man. I can't believe a word of anything she says. I don't know what to do. I keep running the options through my head. I don't know. I really need some advice. Update March 28, 20. We went to the counselor on Thursday. I vented my sorrows for a bit. The counselor dismissed me and said she would rather work with my wife and I should find someone else to talk to. I went and retained the lawyer I spoke with. Got paperwork ready for an uncontested divorce. She stayed the night. Anytime we tried to talk, my wife just told me she wants it to work and is sorry, then tells me she feels empty and unable to feel emotions. Blames it on her taking Lexapro. I give her a copy of the uncontested paperwork. She says she won't sign it without someone else looking at it. She leaves to stay at her mother's. She texts me and says age going to pick up or son from my parents so they can play in her mother's pool. I called the lawyer, we changed it to a contested and filed immediately. She texts me briefly. Calls once for a minute and then hangs up. I go back to work today, just so I'm not moping. She mumbles love you after we talk briefly. Say she still wants me to have hope and that she needs to get her thoughts together. Now I find myself unable to eat. Gagging randomly, dry heaving. Having nightmares. Restless sleep. Sorrow, hopelessness.